Welcome back. As you know, I'm Eli, the computer guy, here for the Daily Blob, where I've got some good news for you. It looks like there's gonna be quite a few positions open at Microsoft pretty soon, because surprise, surprise, surprise to me, I thought protesting your company on company time was oh so 2024, but apparently no, they're bringing it back. 2025, protesting your company while you're getting a paycheck is the way people think things should go right now. So this is kind of curious, right? So anybody follows me for any length of time, you know my opinions about the Middle East. But you also know about my opinions on keeping a damn job. And here's the thing about the real world. It gets to be sticky. It gets to be a wee bit of a sticky wicket. One of the videos I think I did last week or the week before was talking about how Microsoft is profiting off of the ethnic cleansing going on over in Israel. And one of the things that you have to consider with that is you're like, oh my God, that's horrible. But you also have to realize that that's paying a lot of people's paychecks, which is where it gets to be a little bit weird. Like if you're making billions and billions and billions of dollars off of ethnically cleansing the Palestinians, the question that you have to ask yourself is, if you stop taking that blood money, who are you going to fire? Oh, this is the kind of stuff bosses have to think about in 2025. I think about that with, again, I got my criminal justice degree years and years ago. One of the classes I took was crime prevention. So we talked about all kinds of different crime prevention things out there. And at the time, one of the big things that was coming up is the whole idea of workplace violence. So workplace violence, killing people at the workplace was the cool thing to do at the time. And so one of the questions is basically, how do you try to limit that type of thing? How do you decrease the stress when you fire people so that they don't come back and try to shoot your ass? Real world, boys and girls. And so one of the questions that came up that we had to think about is, when is it appropriate to fire people if you realize that you have to fire them around Christmas? So here in the United States, Christmas is the most wonderful time of year for some reason. It is for the capitalists. For the capitalists, it's great. It provides them a hell of a lot of money. People get into a massive amount of debt. Keeps the cycle going. But anyways, Christmas is the most wonderful time of year. So here's the thing, right? You gotta fire people. You gotta fire people, and you don't want them to shoot you. How do you fire people without getting shot? Anyway, so if Christmas is coming up, then the question is do you fire people before Christmas or do you fire people after Christmas? So if you fire people before Christmas, then you've ruined Christmas this year, right? They were going to be with their family, and they were going to have fun, and they were going to do all these things, and there's all this crap that Christmas is supposed to do for people, blase, blase, blase. So if you fire people before Christmas, that is just cold-hearted and nasty. But here's the issue, especially with how our system works, right? Since Christmas is this absurdity, right? It's the pomp and circumstance. It's the whatever. We go through the motions, pretending it's not killing our very soul. But part of going through the motions, while it kills our soul, is that in order to make that time period fun and exciting, many people go into debt. Right, so they use their credit cards to spend a lot of money, right? They're trying to pay for the love of their kids who don't care. Anyways, and so you swipe your credit cards and all that kind of stuff. So if you fire them after Christmas, you allow them to have a good Christmas and then fire them afterwards. Then the issue becomes, well, now they're in more debt than they would have been if they knew they were going to get fired. And so that puts them into a fundamentally worse position. So, what choice do you make? Dun, 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 dun. If you were a boss, dun, 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 and you needed to fire people, dun, 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 and you didn't want to get shot, dun, 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 when would you fire them? Right? These are the kind of things you have to kind of think about. And so think about that. There's got all this blood money come in. We've got blood. I just realized this is why people hate Aspies. I'm just sitting here talking to the camera. It's like, oh, this is why people hate Aspies. Because we just are like, you know the world's complicated, right? You know the world is nowhere near as simple as you people try to make it out to be. Anyways, never mind. here's the thing, right? So your company is bringing in billions and billions and billions of dollars in blood money. Those billions of dollars go to pay a lot of people so that they can have houses and their kids can go to school and their kids can get fed, right? Palestinian kids starve so that, overfed folks in Washington state can eat more food. Anyways, so if you remove this funding mechanism, then there is this whole question of then who do you fire? And then one of the interesting things that comes up with this is like, well, if you are not willing to support Israel, right? So if you're not willing to support Israel's ethnic cleansing, ooh, where is the line? Where is the line? I was watching War Stories or whatever. I don't know. There's this YouTuber. He's bald. He's completely bald. You know how smart he is. He's completely bald, and his beard still looks like a beard should be. Anyways, he was talking about like the worst like genocide or whatever going on right now. I think it's in Somalia. Is it Somalia? Maybe? Anyways, and he was talking about that. And he was talking about how everybody's like, oh my God, over Ukraine. And oh my God, over Israel. And oh my God, over the Uyghurs. And in Somalia, they're just dying by the thousands. And nobody cares. When you think I'm mean and horrible when I say nobody cares about you, stop pretending. Just think about this. It's not that an individual in Somalia died today and you don't give a shit about them. It's that I'm sitting here and I'm like, what? Is it even Somalia? Like thousands of people are probably gonna die this month, and I think it's Somalia. This is how little people actually care. But that's the thing, right? So if you decide not to take blood money from here, well, where else are you not going to take blood money from? And then how does the entire business collapse on itself? I don't know. These are the things to ponder. These are the things that I ponder, which is, of course, why Aspie, shut up. That's what I love about safe spaces. Like, you hear that from so many people. I hear that from so many, like, safe spaces. And then I open my mouth and I'm told to shut the fuck up. Everybody in the world deserves a safe space. Other than the Aspies. Other than the Aspies just need to shut the fuck up. Anyways, so I think this is curious. I think this is curious. This is curious. What is the answer? I'm not here to tell you the answer. Microsoft workers, this is coming from Guardian, other places too. Microsoft workers occupy HQ in protest against company's ties to Israeli military. So that's right, employees on the company dime, on the company time, are protesting, we're occupying the headquarters to demand to be fired, right? Billions and billions and billions of dollars coming in. You demand the company stops taking billions and billions and billions of dollars. Are you saying you will give up your job, all benefits and any kind of vested equity and that type of thing for Microsoft to drop those particular clients? Is that what you're saying? Probably not. Employees outraged by a report Azure platform used by Israel to store surveillance data collected on Palestinians. Dozens of Microsoft employees occupied the company's East Campus in Redmond, Washington to protest against what they say is the use of its software by the Israeli military to carry out operations in Gaza and enable the surveillance of Palestinians. Less than a week after the company said it was launching an independent investigation into the use of its Azure software, current and former staff occupied a space they declared the free zone, holding placards that read, "Join the worker and frittata." Oh, Lordy. Words, people. Words. Look, Lutnick should not talk about addicting to China, and maybe you should leave the infatata out of your placards. I don't know. No labor for genocide and martyred Palestinian Children's Plaza. The protest, organized by the No Azure for Genocide group, has demanded Microsoft divest from Israel and offered to give up their jobs to pay for that loss. Probably not. Nazreen Jaradat, 29, a Microsoft employee, said, quote, "Every single second that we wait, things are worse and worse in Palestine." She added, "People are getting hungrier and hungrier. More and more people are being bombed and maimed. It's time for us to escalate however we can." The protest ended after about 2 hours when police told demonstrators to leave and said they would be arrested for trespassing. A Microsoft spokesperson said the group of demonstrators, quote, "was asked to leave and they left." The spokesperson said it had nothing to add to a statement made last week about an inquiry into it had undertaken into allegations Azure was being used to surveil Palestinians. Quote, "Based on these reviews, including interviewing dozens of employees and assessing documents, we have found no evidence to date that Microsoft's Azure and AI technologies have been used to target or harm people in the conflict in Gaza." Word choice, especially in the technology world, you have to look at word choice. This hasn't specifically been used for that. The demonstrators say their efforts are part of a process to educate people. Quote, "I think we are inspiring conversation among the people who work at Microsoft to feel more comfortable talking about this with each other and about how their work is contributing to genocide," said another employee, Julius Sean, 28. So yeah, working at Microsoft is going to get more fun. Hey, did you catch that game last night? No, I was protesting the death of Palestinian babies. Yeah, there's a really good touchdown in the third quarter. Pretty cool. Like, ooh. I don't know. I don't know. This is going to be interesting. I think the big question here that I find as a technology professional is what happens when your corporate culture goes absolutely fucking sideways. I've talked about this for a while now. Over the past 10 or 15 years, the whole idea is getting asses in seats. It's not about return on investment for the employees. It's not about profit. It's not about revenue. It's not about productivity. A lot of these companies just needed asses in seats to pretend like they were successful, to pretend like they were growing. The issue is as you grow fast, you have to be concerned about losing your company culture, right? The company culture is basically the idea that everybody, more or less, is on the same page, right? If you have a factory, you want all of your employees to believe fundamentally that punctuality is the hallmark of being an adult. 5 minutes early to being 5 minutes early is 5 minutes late. I come 5 minutes early to being 5 minutes early to being 5 minutes early, as a real man should. Right? Because when you're running a fucking factory, right, you got your 3 shifts. One shift is over. You shut the lines down. You bring the new shift in. Everybody goes back to working, right? You can't have people coming in 15 minutes late and 30 minutes late and 45 minutes late and all that kind of thing, right? So company culture is incredibly important. Imagine if you had a factory and you had to hire a lot of people very quickly, and then a chunk of the people that you hired didn't really care about punctuality. They don't understand why you get so worked up about people being on time. Because they fundamentally don't understand how the business works, and they don't really give a shit. And the only reason they're working for your company is because, well, why not? You pay a good amount of money, and maybe there's some benefits, so they'll be there, right? And then what happens? What happens in a factory? Think about this. What happens in a factory when 25% of your employees do not fundamentally believe in punctuality? A bad day for the manager. Why is the manager always angry? Why is my boss always pissed off? Well, anyways, that might be one of the reasons, right? And that's one of the important things with company culture, right? So one of the things with company culture, again, especially in a capitalist system, whether you like the capitalist system or not, that is a system we're in. As a very old, very white guy once told me, Eli, I'm not telling you this is a good system, Eli. I'm telling you, this is the system we have. Truer words I have never heard. That's one thing. This is the system that we have. And so one of the curious things, right, over the past 10 or 15 years, is these technology companies have hired so many people. And what do you need out of a tech company? You don't need punctuality of a tech company. You don't actually need You should have. You should have, but you don't need it. You don't actually need communication skills all the time in a tech company, but you need people to be continuously pushing the ball forward. I talk about this, one of the controversial things that I talk about, not Israel, not Palestinians, right? But the whole idea of tech professionals, like they have a problem they're trying to figure out during the workday, and then they go home and then they spin up a server or they play around and try to figure out what the solution is basically at night, because it's just bothering them. The employer isn't paying them, the boss isn't forcing them to do it or anything else. They just ran into a problem. It's like a Sudoku problem. Like we get paid essentially for doing Sudoku all the time, right? There's this problem. It doesn't fucking work. You spend all 8 hours or 10 hours that day trying to figure out that fucking problem. And then you go home and they're sitting there over dinner and you're like, right? And then you pick up your fucking plate of spaghetti and you take it over to your very expensive Mac and you start typing on it. And then something happens next. And that's why I used to get paid a lot of money as a computer repair business, because you put your pasta on it or whatever, right? But that's the culture is solving problems, moving the ball forward, that type of deal. But what we've got over the past 10 or 15 years is we have all these activists, right? Activists have been hired. If you have 25% of your employees in a factory that don't believe in punctuality, things are gonna get stupid. If you have a chunk of your employees at a major tech company that do not believe in actually solving problems, right? Things are gonna get stupid and adding to the bottom line. And so I think it's kind of interesting here is we're currently in the transition process, right? It's the pendulum of history. People talk about the future of history like it's a line. Reality is a pendulum, right? And so we swung really far over to Stupidville, right? Really far over to Stupidville. And now it's swinging back. And so we have this time period where these companies are just dumping employees, right? They're doing layoffs, they're doing quiet firings, they're doing all kinds of stuff just to dump employees. At the exact same time, they're literally dumping employees. Microsoft dumped 16,000 employees this year alone. You still have employees of the company that didn't get the fucking memo, and so they're still activists. What are we? Activists. And so they're going out and doing their activisty type stuff, and yeah, I don't know. I'm glad I'm not a Microsoft employee. I'm glad I'm not Wow, you mean they're having massive layoffs at the exact same time they're doing protests at the headquarters? Yeah, that's gonna go particularly well. So I don't know. I'll be curious to see how this unfolds at the end of the day. The big thing to be thinking about here in the real world, is that genocide pays, ethnic cleansing pays, evil pays, but evil pays you to do what you think is good. How do you square that particular circle? It's a question to be asked. Like, what happens when you work for these major companies and they're doing things that you despise? Do you protest? Do you give up your job? What does it matter? I don't know. It'll be fascinating. It'll be fascinating to see how this next couple of years goes. I think it's going to be an absolute and utter crap show. So what do you think about this? What do you think about Microsoft employees occupying the headquarters? Right? No more blood money for Microsoft. I mean, they still want their paychecks, but Microsoft shouldn't get the blood money. What do you think about this? What do you think about the unwinding, this particular paradigm we've had over the past 10 or 15 years, and how its day is done, but the people that are part of that particular paradigm might not realize their days are numbered? What do you think about this with Microsoft and all these large corporations? What should they do? I don't know. Put your thoughts down below. Give us a thumbs up, give us a thumbs down. Call me amazing, call me a moron. All that matters is that you put it down in the comment section down below. I love y'all. I love y'all, right? As I've said before, if you don't like my politics, watch every single video I've ever created. I'm not a comic book writer. I actually have a real education and skill set. I still love that blue hair. She's like, if you don't like my politics, don't read my comics or don't buy my comics or whatever. And then nobody did. And then nobody did. No. If you don't like my politics, watch everything that I... If you didn't like this video, I'm sure there's about 50 more videos you're going to despise watching too. But anyways, I see that with some of the controversial videos I do. And people like literally they will comment, what the fuck was that 50 minutes? I just wasted 50 minutes of my life. I'm like, thank you. So basically what you're saying is you watched the entire video and you gave me an interaction. Thank you. Thank you. I do fear the younger generation just does not understand how the world works. It's like that goes back to that whole 1% thing. Like I have all these followers, and they really hate the controversial thing that I'm saying right now is that you should be nice to your boss. Oh, they lose their minds. They lose their minds. Anyways, the funny thing I think about this is we have educated our youth so poorly, they don't understand like basic math. So like when we talk about the 1%, right? So the 1% own everything and the 99% are the downtrodden. Isn't actually how the math works out, but let's just go for it. See, the young people are so bad at math. We have trained them so shittily that they think all of their managers are in the 1%. So yeah, your manager at McDonald's, yeah, that motherfucker's 1%, all right. They don't really understand how 1% works. Like 1% means 1 out of every 100 people. And think about it. If you were the 1 out of 100 people, do you want to hang out with the other 99? Or do you want to go to someplace nicer with a better class of people? So basically what you have is you have the 1% and they take the money and then they go fuck somewhere else. They go off to their private island. And then the 99 are still stuck in the normal world and they start eating each other because apparently they think the manager that is trying to, make sure payroll balances, they're like the 1% or something. I don't know. That's the stuff that makes me laugh. The stuff that makes me giggle. See y'all later.